came back because obviously everybody wants to come back, and people were saying to me, is it scary getting back? I'm there, like, I cannot wait. And I'm so glad to see all your faces because I feel like you guys are in the same boat. So we're in this together, right? So I don't know if anybody's seen my new show. It's a travel show. It's called Debbie Dunning's Dude Ranch Roundup, and I travel the countryside from Montana to Wyoming, North Dakota, Texas, Arizona, you name it, and I feature a dude ranch, somewhere where you can take your family and your children and live in the Western lifestyle. Am I going too fast?
No, I'm loving it. I got a question as soon as you go.
Okay.
Oh, for her? No.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Dumbass. I haven't done this in a while either. We're all getting laughing.
I completely forgot how fast I was talking. Yeah, she is. So I've just been for the last 3.5 years doing that, and I've just been told I have a 4th season. So my job goes from the television to basically being an executive producer, a host, and a writer, and the creator of this show. The reason I created it, and I'm just going to tell you whether you want to know or not, is because a dude ranch to me was one of those imprints that was put on me as a small child. I got to ride a horse, I got to milk a cow, go collect the eggs, I went whitewater rafting, shot a gun for the first time. What I've found in the last 4 years is the diversity in dude ranches is just incredible. So I've become quite the fly fisherman and shot every gun I've ever wanted to shoot. And it's kind of cool. So anyway, you can find it on the Cowboy Channel or on rfd.com. I mean, not .com, but that's my email. RFD Television. So rural free America. I like to say it's the real, but that would be, easier to remember.
I'm sorry.
RFD.
No, what's that F word? Free? What?
Rural free delivery.
There you go. There you go.
It's the only way you're going to remember it.
So what's your favorite gun? Which is a question I have never asked.
22. I love a 22. It's easy, it's simple. It's
Just a 22 rifle? Or 22 pistol?
yeah, a little pistol.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Burbank, California. I went to the same high school my mom and dad went to. They're only 20 years older than me. And the Burbank girl, and basically started off just in high school doing bikini contests on the weekends, and then those kind of grew into like Miller Lite autograph signings, and then I got a modeling agent and then a commercial agent, and then I started doing under 5s, which means let's give her under 5 lines and see how good she does. And I tell you what, it just started snowballing, and I'm like, this is where I want to be. This is where I love being. So I was in college for 3 years, and I quit. Just put all my energy into that.
Well, someone who works in higher ed for his full-time job, we'll talk afterwards. I can go back and finish up.
I've been told that so many times. That's the last place I want to go.
All right. Let's go ahead and get started. Who has some questions? If you're loud, like Miss Brittany.
Yeah.
If you're loud like Miss Brittany, you can stand up and scream it. If not, you can feel free to come over here to the microphone. Do not be shy. We are here for you. I said don't be shy.
It's so funny because people come to the table all day long and ask me questions. And we get into a situation like this. I just always say, well, remember something on home improvement or something that you want to know. Just don't say, how was it working with Tim Allen? Because I'm going to answer all of your questions. It was amazing. He's loyal, he's wonderful. He's funnier than that you get to see. But he's also a very private person, very shy when it comes to public. But you'd never know that from the parts he's played and the characters, he's portrayed.
Good. All right. Who has our first question? There you go. Right here, and then we'll come back up to you, man. Go ahead and scream it out, sir.
Well, my favorite thing, of course, in home improvement was whenever something went horrifically wrong, you guys had this big disaster in the episode. And not see there was a lot of stuff. Did you guys ever do your own stunts, and did you have a favorite stunt that you ever did over your season?
Anytime you saw us dancing, there's no way you can get somebody to do that sort of thing. We did have one that was like grease lightning, and Tim had pulled out his back, so he had a stunt guy for that. Tim is the one who's got the stunt. Tim and Jill had stunt people. I never did. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Richard Karn! in what, Atlanta?
Yes, I got to see a hotel in Atlanta.
Where is the rest of Richard Karn? Where have you gone? Look how skinny he is.
She's talking about me.
There's a new flannel out that makes you look thinner. I highly recommend it. It actually has Spanx inside of it.
Where do you buy that?
RichardKarn.com.
Mail order.
Well, I couldn't be more excited. You ready for some more questions? All right.
Well, how long has this been going on?
An hour.
You've been
No.
going and out?
No, we're just here having a good time. We may have been, what, 5 minutes?
Less than 5 minutes.
Yes,
An
yes.
hour and a half, 5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, 5 minutes. In fact, our next question was right here. Go ahead, ma'am.
I was just curious what your 3 years of study were at yours, also being of higher education.
You know, I wasn't very focused because I had to keep like just taking classes. I had my kinesiology teacher say to me, if you're not really serious about this, you should give your spot to somebody else. And I'm like, well, I'm really serious about giving my spot to somebody else.
When was this?
When I was in college.
I'm finding out things I never knew.
Well, we were trying to talk her
We never
back
talked.
into going back.
Yeah, he wants me to finish. I don't want to finish. No.
Hey, you know, I had one more quarter, I could have got my master's,
Really?
but I had to get to New York.
See, that's what I
You
just
know,
said.
23 years old, your brain just works in different ways. Which is kind of interesting because, you know, at such a young age, you know, 18, 19, 20, 21, you're making decisions to do this business.
Yeah.
And you really have no idea. You really have no idea what the world is about or what this business is about. You know, up until you graduate from school, it's all show. It's just the show. You're going to do a play, the school's paying for it. Then you find out there's a business to the other end of show business. And that's, you know, and we found that out, which is...
It is a little bit of a roller coaster. It's a fun one to be on, but it's not as fun when you're not working. So, like everybody probably can feel since the pandemic, not working is scary.
Yeah.
So we did get to ask this question to Debbe, but we didn't. Richard, can you tell us about your upcoming projects? Anything you're working on? What you're doing now?
Well, actually, Tim and I did a show last year called Assembly Required for the History Channel. And, you know, it didn't occur to me till I was home watching our episodes how dangerous it is. I mean, we're asking these people to build something in 90 minutes. And it's not like a simple thing. You know, they're building danger, well, not, you know, flashlights, but also fire extinguishers and things like that. And when you try to hurry somebody up, and they're using blowtorches and drills and things like that, things can get out of hand quickly. And we had a couple of accidents, and we are now changing the show from Assembly Required to I'm not going to the hospital. No, that's not what it is. To more power. And it won't be a competition, but it'll be us, more along the lines of what the History Channel is, kind of delving into the history of a tool, a hammer or a saw or whatever, and then we'll bring somebody in with an interesting project that they're working on, and Tim and I will talk. And that's about as far as I know, because I have no idea what it's going to look like. But I had no idea what Assembly Required was going to look like, and it happened. It was fun, and so I'm putting my trust in the gods.
Has anybody seen Pen 15? I don't know. It looks like a penis if you just put it out there. I didn't realize this, but all of a sudden I'm watching. My son is in junior high school. He's in 7th grade, and it's based about this. And I'm watching the other day, and this guy comes out as the dad, and I'm like, no way. You must have done it a long time ago, right?
Well, we just actually finished the 2nd and 3rd season about
so
3 months
exciting.
ago. It's on the Hulu channel. And these two women, and I gotta hand it to these two women, they met in school. They met in New York at NYU, and all these years later, they connected back together again and decided they would do a show about themselves in 7th grade. And they played themselves. They're playing themselves. And they're brilliant. They're great. I mean, you get the joke. They're not doing it as farce. They're doing it, you know that they're going to be 30, but they still look pretty great as 13-year-olds, and all the other kids are 13. And I play the dad. And her dad, Maya's dad, is an actual world-class drummer. He was in a band called The Weather Report, jazz, world class. I mean, this guy, drummers go, oh my God, and I know a few drummers that come up and they go, you're working with Peter? I go, yeah. Oh, what's he like? He's like a celebrity to other drummers. And so she wrote me as her father, but I'm not a world class drummer. I'm in a cover band. I'm in a Steely Dan cover band called Stealing Dan.
This show is so funny and it's so good, and I'm glad you explained about the age thing, because I've been watching it going,
Yeah.
these girls are obviously in their 30s. Like, why? How did they get cast?
But it's about real 13-year-olds, and it's not something you want to watch with your 13-year-old.
Yes, it is.
Depends on who you're raising.
I'd rather him watch this and then ask me, because trying to explain the stuff, which is brilliantly written, what they're going through is perfect.
Yeah.
It's exactly straight on, but they think, your kid thinks, because I'm there right now with my 12-year-old, almost 13, and he thinks he's the only one who's ever gone through this, and I'm like, I'm just gonna watch this show with him. I watched a few episodes, and then I rewatched it. And then you came on when he was there, and he's like, isn't that? And I'm like, yes, it's great.
Well, Home Improvement was like that. I mean, we had the kids starting at 9 and up through 11, 12, 13, 14, and now they're 40. I think Jonathan just had a birthday.
No, they're not 40. They're still 12.
Which
and
makes
9
us
and
about
17.
32. No, wait a minute. Jonathan can't be younger
You
than
went
us.
the other way with it.
Yeah, that's right. Dang, darn it. Anyway, did that answer your question?
Because we have a few questions for you.
What are your questions for them?
No, we don't.
Well, they've been fun,
Improvement.
actually. All right, so who's got our next question? Who's ready to go? Yes, ma'am. Stand up and yell it. Come on, let's see you. Let's see it.
You've been on a tool show, and now you're on another tool show. Do you actually care about tools?
Ask your significant other.
You're single.
You're single. Okay, well, okay. Guys care about tools. We may not know how to wield them, but you walk down an aisle and there's, a handsaw, there's a cordless drill, there's like, oh yeah, it's like really cool stuff. And
I love tools, and I feel like people have no idea what I am capable of. And some of it was because my dad couldn't do anything, and a lot of it was from our experience, 8 years on that show, right? But I sit there and I'm so proud of myself when I get something done. The only thing I hate about tools is I'm not strong enough for some of them. Some of them you just need a man. So I'm talking about you.
no, but my dad was a builder, and my grandfather was a builder. We have a museum of tools. They never threw anything away. I mean, we have saws that they used back in the 1800s. Giant claw saws and drills, all sorts of different drills that you hand drill and like that. And it's like I actually could open a museum. But yes, and Debbie's right. When you do a project around your house and it works, there is a massive amount of satisfaction that flows over you. It's almost like getting a really nice text.
So your family, through these histories, and you decide, I'm going to be an actor.
Yeah. Well, my dad's mom said, if you become a builder, I'm going to throw you in the lake. She did not want me becoming a builder. I don't know why, because I look back and I think my dad and my grandfather had wonderful lives.
Yeah.
They were building things up in the Seattle area, building apartment buildings. The house I grew up in, which is a whole other story. And I tried working with my dad, and this is back before we had electric nail guns. So I'm on the roof, on my knees, hammering in, roofs and on floors, You know, if I had just something that just goes, you know, I'd love that. But I was a few years behind the curve there. So I found myself way more comfortable in front of an audience with other people's words. You know, doing a play, which was really, you know, telling a story, which was a lot of fun. And then over the years, learned how to tell my own stories, which is kind of what we do now.
Yep, that's what we do.
Thank you. All right. Next question. Who's up next? Who's on deck? All right, right over here. Screaming out, sir.
How hard was it to work with Bob Vila on the show?
Bob Vila is a great guy. He's an extreme joker. But I'm a woman. So maybe ask Richard. I thought he was great. I thought it was fun, the camaraderie between him and Tim.
Yeah, and I wasn't acting. No, but let me preface that. Bob is a good guy. Bob is a guy that grew up, you know, he was in the Boston area. He was he furnished houses and sold them. He was a real estate guy. And by doing that, he thought, well, this is interesting. I could try and put something together, and that's, you know, when PBS picked up this old house kind of a thing. So he wasn't really a builder. That's where Norm came in. Norm was his al, in a way. But Bob came, I don't know if you know this, but he came over to the set before we had aired. This was, you know, we had just done like maybe 1 or 2 episodes before the audience, before it had played on television, and he walks in and he's like looking around and he's going, you know, I don't want you making fun of my business. And we go, well, you do a pretty good job yourself. And he like, whoa. You know, it's like, this is very important to me, and I go, okay, you're right. You know, this is a sitcom, and we're not going to try and make fun of it. We're going to have fun with it, which is, you know, very different. It's not snarky. It's not any of that kind of stuff. But, you know, he leaves, and Tim and I look at each other and go, well, he'll never be on the show. And I swear, it was like a month and a half later, the writers come down and go, we're thinking of having Bob on the show. I go, really? Yeah, but you're going to have him knock him in the head with a 2x6. And really, that was the first episode when Bob's talking and Tim turns the thing and knocks him in the head. It was, you know, it was great. But Bob, you know, Bob really wanted to fit in and have fun. So it was a whole different side of him that he lets other people see, that we got to see.
He was a good sport.
He was a very good sport.
All right. Good question.
For real. He broke Tim's car.
Well, tell that story. Lean on. Tell that story.
I don't know if anybody remembers the episode where they have a race. Do you remember the race?
Yeah.
Do you remember how the race ended? It ended in slow motion, coming across the finish line. The reason
Oh,
why
that's right, we were pushing it.
is we're out on the tarmac of Burbank Airport, off to the side where cars can. And Tim, you know, being Tim, loves to roadster around, and he started peeling out and like that. Well, Bob gets the idea that he can do the same thing, and breaks the clutch. And so now we're trying to film, and we have no clutch on this car, so we film it pushing it across the finish line in slow motion. That's why it's in slow motion. So there you go. There's you know, not a lot of people know that. You guys might be the first.
The movie manager. All right. Who's next? Yes, sir.
I know Home Improvement had tons of guest stars over its run, either here and there, I think. Were there any guest stars that you wish you could have had on that you weren't able to do during the run at all, or?
What do you think?
Wish we could have had on?
Yeah.
Somebody that we tried to get but couldn't?
Yeah.
Or I thought you were going to say like Alive or Dead, you know.
Well, that would work. Live or dead? Who would you have liked?
I would have loved to have had John Wayne on. Or Lucille Ball.
Well, we had Ann Miller.
Yeah, we
That's
did.
kind of the same genre, with the dancing episode, and she was very, you know, a lot of the older recognizable face stars all had people with them. Somebody that would help them memorize their lines. And now, as I get older, I realize that that is something that isn't a luxury, that's something you need. But she had a woman that helped her with her lines and like that, and so did the guy that played one of the dads.
Tatum O'Neill, I worked with her, and she had 2 people helping her with her lines. And all I could think was, she's so hard to work with. Why are they giving her all this stuff? Why didn't they hire someone else?
She's Tatum O'Neill. She got an Oscar at 11.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And Ryan would beat everybody up.
All right. Ryan O'Neill, Tatum O'Neill, that was a good, yeah, just some people we probably don't know who that is. That's okay.
I'm very old, and so are my references.
That's okay. I got it. Paper Moon. Now, let us ask our next question. Who's up? All right, right here, sir, and then there.
All right, so Wilson never came out from behind the fence, and Al always wore flannel. Was it just like they were looking at the episodes one day, like, okay, so Al always wears flannel. Let's make that his thing, and Wilson never comes out from behind the fence. So let's make that his thing. Or was it that always written into the show?
That was for Wilson. That was like creative. They were always saying, let's just never reveal who he really is, and it got better and better, and they got more creative. You'd see something go, and all of a sudden someone would cross over it. And like, how, everybody wanted to see. I don't know about how you got your
Well,
flannels.
Tim had a very clear vision of his neighbor. And it was an actual neighbor of his in Michigan that they had a higher fence, and he never saw the guy. He talked to him, but he never saw him. He saw things going by above the fence like that. So his idea was that Wilson shouldn't be seen, he should be heard. And the first Wilson they cast, the agent called up and said, I understand my client is not going to be seen. And they go, yes, that's true. They go, well, he doesn't want to do that. And they went, okay. And that's when they got Earl, who was doing a play just up the road at Actors Theater Louisville. He was doing a Shakespeare.
Really?
And Earl had been in tons of things. He was on Ryan's Hope for 10 years. He was in Silverado. He was in The Taking of Pelham 123. He was quite an accomplished actor, and he came in to play that role of the sage advice. And there was one point early on where Tim was talking to Wilson, and he stops, and he turns to the writers and goes, what if I'm talking to Wilson, and then my wife comes out, and she goes, who are you talking to? And we pan back, and it's an empty lot. And everybody just stopped and went, no, we don't think they stopped and thought about it for 1 second, that Wilson could be a figment of his imagination. It was close. The flannel thing was, well, I wasn't actually cast. Stephen Topolowski was cast as Tim's assistant, whose name was going to be Glenn. Glenn was Tim's assistant, and they wanted somebody physically taller, older, much different than Tim. And the writers, producers, the creators, who I had known from a thing I did in Indiana a few years before, that they said, well, you're too much like Tim, that's why we never brought you in to audition. And I go, yeah, okay, all right. But they let me come in and audition for maybe something down the road. And then Stephen got a movie, and they couldn't use him, so they called me and asked me if I wouldn't mind doing the pilot. And they knew I was a good guy, and I wouldn't be upset if I just did the pilot, and if the show got picked up, which it's never a done deal, you don't know if the show's going to get picked up, they would bring back Stephen. And I went, well, yes, of course, I would love to do that, because my wife is pregnant. I mean, Cooper was born.
Yeah.
My son was born the first season of Home Improvement. So, any job at that point was like, yes, love the idea. So when we talked with our customer, whose name just
Valerie.
Valerie, she said, I think I'm going to put you in some plaid. And I go, oh, okay. You mean like Norm? He goes, yeah, a little bit like Norm, but we don't want to really be Norm, but yeah, a little bit like Norm. And you know, they brought out these Ralph Lauren plaid shirts. I mean, it had the little logo that they would have Greeked out, but they were, you know, anyone wear Ralph Lauren? They're really fitted. They are really fitted. So, you know, everything is tight. And, you know, the shirt was like $140. And I went to her, I went to like Eddie Bauer and I bought a $25 plaid shirt. I brought it to her and she goes, you know, this is only $25 and it's way more comfortable. She goes, oh, if you don't mind. I go, no, I don't mind. I don't care if it's Ralph Lauren. I'm on for one show. So that's where the plaid happened. And then they just kept leaning into it. I had plaid shoes. I had a plaid evening jacket. I had a plaid, oh my God.
Underwear.
And then there was the famous episode where we go backstage and I'm taking off my shirt and I hang it up and then I pull out an exact replica to go home in. And they thought that was hysterical.
I love that show. I love that.
Do you ever get sick of wearing it? I know that's a question you had to have got.
I don't wear it in life very much.
Can you imagine if you saw him in the grocery store, you're like, what, and he's still what you
I know.
Here I am
I know.
in costume.
Although California was kind of cold last winter and I did wear a couple of flannels.
Yeah.
You know, over a
It's
sweater.
natural.
Or under a sweater. But.
So it probably helps though if you wear the flannel, then but if you're not in the flannel, maybe.
Well, you know, this is the Gap, and it's it's flannel, but it's a light flannel.
He's moved back to Ralph Lauren. It's like, where are those
It's the Gap. It's not Ralph, whose real name is Ralph Lipschitz. I don't know if you knew that. I met Mr. and Mrs. Lipschitz. One of my jobs in New York when I was a struggling actor was taking sandwiches to the buyers from around the country for Ralph Lauren apparel. And this couple walks in, and they're like 3 feet high. I mean, they're tiny. And I go, who's that? He goes, it's Mr. and Mrs. Lipschitz. And I go, yeah? I go, that's Ralph's parents. I go, oh, you're kidding me. And he's only like 5 inches taller than them. He's like, you know, 5'5" or 5'4". But anyway, that's that's just a side story.
That's okay. Next question. Yes, the dude. Yeah,
Question for you, for Richard. Was there any competitiveness between Home Improvement and the Red Green Show? Because y'all both aired at the same time.
I know, and I never realized that.
So no.
Was the Red Green Show a Canadian show?
Yes.
So I don't think I got it till later. Did they start before us or after us?
No, they both started in '91.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, there wasn't really a competition there.
Were you on that? Or is he on
I was never on there.
It was something that it had very similar characters is the reason why. I wonder if there was maybe some competitive writing going on the writing.
You know, if I asked our writers, they would never admit it.
But I would say we won. If there was competition, I would say we won.
Yeah, we actually made Seinfeld move. We were up against Seinfeld the first season, and they moved him to Thursday night, which became, you know, Thursday night must-see TV. So we beat out Jerry. Tim was very happy about that.
All right. Next question. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead and yell it out. Stand up. We love seeing everybody.
So, Richard, you did a movie back in the 90s called Picture Perfect, and I watched that when I was little. Do you like making sitcoms or making movies better, schedule-wise?
Oh gosh, they are such different animals. I mean, television is almost like theater, except you're edited. You know, as an actor, we worked with a live audience. It was like doing a little play because we had the Tool Time audience was right there and everything, and it was immediate and moving along and like that. When you do a movie, you know, it's a little more hurry up and wait. You take a shot, then you have to take a shot from here, then you have to take a shot from here, and then a shot from there. So there's actually actors that really appreciate that because, you know, they can work up to a better performance.
And when the show ended for me, it was so sad because all I could think was, man, am I ever going to laugh like that hard again for my You know, it's
That show took years off our life.
that's why we look so good.
Instead of
As a follow-up, though, I'm curious because I don't normally get starstruck, but every once in a while I do. Otherwise, I couldn't do this.
Yeah.
But Dangerfield, I would have. Does that make sense? There's
Oh,
always
yeah.
somebody.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
Well,
who was
Tim-
the one that you guys worked with?
Tim worked with Rod.
Mhm.
You know, at Dangerfields, he has a comedy club on the Upper East Side, and he would put up young, struggling actors on his couch and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So when Rodney came in, and you know, he wore like a bathrobe, like the dude. You know, he just kind
With
of
no underwear.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I think he had underwear. I think he was behaving.
Those are the
himself.
stories. Ask me after the panel.
Oh.
So who were you guys starstruck? Anybody?
Everybody. You know,
That
when
came
they
on our show?
Yeah, yeah, him on your show. Yeah.
We had Jack Elam
Right.
and Ernest Borgnine, and I grew up, you know, because I'm old, seeing Marty. Ernest Borgnine was a big star, huge star.
Yeah.
So was Jack Elam, and Jack Elam, if you recall, he did a lot of westerns. He had that eye that when it would go off to the side, he had this really kind of squirrely look. He was an accountant at like Warner Brothers.
I didn't know that.
He would look down from the accountant window and go, you know, I could do that. That's back when they were doing silent films and they were all lined up, you know, doing that. And he says, I'm going to try that. And at like 40 or somewhere in there, he just decided to become an actor, and he had a great face for it.
You want me to
We
answer
had
it?
like Mario Andretti, we had Alan Jackson, we had people from every walk of life. We had the astronauts on our show. I mean,
The
but-
Beach Boys. We had the Beach
Yeah,
Boys.
like-
Because their last name was Wilson. So they were Wilson's cousins. You know, it makes perfect sense, right? Absolutely. And the Beach Boys, I swear to God, it's like they never grew up. They're guys. I mean, they're men in their 50s, or probably 40s or 50s. And they're goofy. They're like really goofy. And then they sing, and it's like everything falls apart. The harmony's so tight. It's like, oh, respect, immediate respect. But then they talk again, and they're goofy. You know, they're just kids that just didn't have a childhood.
Yeah, like 13-year-olds that just are staying right there, and you put on, and then all of a sudden they're perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were blessed. We had a lot of really great experiences, I think.
Okay, well, we got time for a couple more questions. What do we got? All right, let's see if we can finish these off. You three right there. You, sir, first, and then we'll go down that way. Go ahead.
One famous line you always said, "You can't screw it up." Would you do that line for us?
Yes, sir, for $20. Bring it on up.
What is your name?
Good. Dave?
That's your real name?
Yeah.
Dave's not
I don't think so, Dave. That line got me the job. And I'm not kidding. That line sealed my fate. That line happened about the third or fourth episode in. And I was not a regular member. I was not a regular cast member because they were still thinking of bringing Steven back. And I did the pilot, and then like 2 months go by before they got picked up to do the first episode, and Steven got another movie and said, you know, and then Carmen calls me and goes, well, would you mind doing a couple of more episodes? I go, yes, I would love to do a couple more episodes, thank you. And so it had to have been like the second or third episode, you know, Tim had this joke like, hey Al, you think they call it molding because it's been in the refrigerator too long? And I just let him have that laugh because that was my place. I was there to help Tim get a laugh. You know, so I let him have that laugh. It was a good laugh, you know, titters. And I just looked at him. You know, I didn't want to step on anything. I just looked at him. And then just as I was about to say something, another laugh happened. Because I was just looking at him. Like, you dumb And then I said, I don't think so, Tim. And that got a laugh. And then the writers were like, that day, they were like, oh my God, you did yourself such a favor. And I had like 3 lines. But it was the right 3 lines. And I didn't try to milk it, I just did it. And it cemented in their minds because of what the audience was doing and seeing, they saw the relationship that they could write for after that. Yeah.
All right. 2 more questions. Who was the next one over there? All right, dude in the green. Yeah, go ahead and stand up. Scream out your question.
I was curious to hear about your experience hosting Family Feud, specifically if there was like a most ridiculous answer that always stuck with you.
There were some great things. The trouble, or not the trouble, but the hardest part about remembering funny things is when you're doing the show, you're in the moment. And you can't stop and enjoy it like that because you're in the moment, you're being filmed, there's an audience, you're in the moment, so stuff happens, you laugh, and then you're focused on the game and what's going on. So at the end of a show, I go, God, there was something funny, what was it? Something happened, I can't remember. But there would have been things like, at what month does a woman show pregnancy? And the woman went, September. And, when those kind of things happen, you just kind of stop and enjoy it. They'll edit out whatever, but I never really wanted to make too much fun of answers because I didn't want people to get self-conscious. I didn't want them to close up. I wanted them to, so unlike, a regular like stand-up who would really go for the jugular. I laughed with them, we had a good time, and then I let them off the hook, in a way. Yeah.
All right, our last question. Who had it over there? Yeah.
Okay, so one character that we never got to see was Al's mom. Was there ever an idea of having her show up on the show? Who were they attached to her?
She was so huge.
She could have been
They made her so, they showed her hands ripping apart like a leg of lamb or something. I don't know, at a meal with me. But no, I don't think they ever wanted to do that. And my mom and all of my parents' friends were like, when they would see me, they go, you tell those writers, Louise is not like that. Your mother is so much better than what they're portraying her as. And I go, I know. They just,
It's a character.
they loved having those kind of enormous jokes. So we really never got to see her or hear her, or did we? Did we get to hear her?
I don't think so. I think we maybe heard her coming.
Yeah.
I think she saw at one episode when you mentioned you were going being engaged to her or something like that. I vaguely remember that. Just having this big, huge song.
Just the side.
The song.
Right.
Oh. I have to go back and watch these shows.
You get asked about them all the time. Does it keep it fresh in your memory, both of you?
No.
Yeah.
No, I have to go back and watch some stuff because I know there are things that I've missed or have forgotten until someone reminds me.
But can either one of you actually watch it now and enjoy it a little bit and take yourself out of it? Does that make sense of watching
Much
yourself?
more.
Oh, absolutely.
You can watch
it's
it.
easier now than it
Yeah.
was then because you're so critical of everything you do
Yeah.
as an actor.
Well, Debbie was on the show before her character was on the show.
Yeah.
She was in a beautiful blue dress. The year before, they brought her on as Heidi.
Kiki van Furstenwallenscheinlauf.
Say it 3 times fast.
Kiki van Furstenwallenscheinlauf. Kiki van Furstenwallenscheinlauf. Kiki.
But tell them why your name is so long.
Did anybody see that show? It was because I asked for an autograph the night that Tim swore to his wife that he would not look at women. And I happened to be in the restaurant and recognize him, so I asked him for an autograph. I remember in the audition saying, what kind of accent does she have? And she goes like this. The accent of the girl that gets cast. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I better memorize this like it's my last name. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, well, that was harsh. Duh.
Yeah.
Well, von Furstenwallenscheinlauf, you'd think it would be something, with an accent, or I did.
Well, it was funny because his wife had gone to the restroom, and she comes up and goes, "Can I get an autograph?" He goes, "Yeah, hurry up, yeah, sure." She said, "What's your name?" Kiki. Oh, good. Kiki. And then she goes, von Herschenweiler, so she said, oh.
But I sit in her chair, and then he's trying really hard to not look at me the whole time. And then his wife comes up, and he's trying to just put bread in his mouth, and I stumble off, and he chokes, like for real chokes. And she has to give him the Heimlich in his food. Remember, like a piece of bread flipped over into this guy's soup bowl. I mean, it was,
Well, not for real.
yeah, he choked for real. No,
It was in the script.
it was in the script, but that was what's written.
And what was with the knife? Who threw the knife? Or was that a different episode? I really have to go back and watch these shows. That's a real reason to watch it. Oh my God, they're bleeding all together.
And they're not on 8-track. I mean, we do have them on CDs.
All right, let's give it up for Debbie and Lee. We're going to be here all weekend. This time of year, she's here. Go by their table, first call. If you have any questions you didn't ask, see them about it. All right, thank you all so much.
Thank you.